Evening, folks. It's John Pettipas recording at 10 minutes past 10 o'clock in the evening on Friday night, which is the 25th day of November. It's a video tribute to the late Clara Green. I learned at supper hour in CGX News that Clara Green, she was the oldest of her family. She passed on to heaven. I believe she was 76. She was 76. And she was a wonderful lady. She worked very hard all her life. She is of Acadian stock, her mother being a Pettipas, and her father, Delory. So she's Acadian stock on both sides. No relation to me, she's a different Pettipas. There are a few relatives I've done videos on, or ever will, and there are many people and relatives I'm honored to do videos on, and there'll be this lady included this evening. And she worked very hard all her life. She met a gentleman called Tom Green, and they didn't shack up, they dated, and they got married in the Catholic Church. And she was faithful to wedding vows, and in sickness and health, till death do we part. And her husband, due to no fault of his own, suffered ill health for much of his later life, and she was faithful and good and kind to him, and she never got remarried. And speaking of good and kind, she was wonderful to her mother. She was wonderful to her mother's brother, Jimmy, and James. It was Uncle Jimmy, but James. And they called him Hurley, James Hurley. James is a real name. Curly was his common name and nickname, I guess. And she was very kind to him as well. And she takes and her mother, when her mother was ill, and as she had no hesitation to serve her mother and be good to her mother. And there's another sister, Norma. Can't mention Mrs. Glory Sr., Teresa, without mentioning Norma. Norma came home from Calgary, another saintly lady. Two saints in that family, and the girls. Okay, Clara, who's in heaven now, and Norma. Norma came home from heaven. Those two girls looked after their mother. I remember visiting Mrs. Glory in the hospital after she had a stroke, and both of them were at her side in the solarium, and I think it's the third floor of it was a late summer, early fall, with their mother. And they faithfully, Norma and Clara, so faithful to their wonderful mother. Okay, and later in life, she was at a nursing home in Antigonish, Highcrest, in a small, nice, clean room, and she could oversee where the Special Olympics were. She proud visited her many occasions. I didn't realize she was that sick or closeness to death, and she could oversee a few summers ago when they had the Special Olympics, the fields where some of the events were held, and she was warm and well fed and loved. And speaking of love, she loved her grandkids. She had pictures on her desk bureau there, wall of all of her grandkids. And she loved, I don't have all your names, but she loved her two sons dearly, and she greatly loved all those grandkids. And she was a wonderful lady. If she complained a little bit sometime, I'm going to be quite blunt, if she complained a little bit sometime, other people, if went through all the stuff she did in her life, they wouldn't have been able to endure it. They would have went after rocker. She maintained her focus and work. She worked at the Cove Motel for, not mistaken, I believe she's the longest employee the Cove Motel ever had. She was there something like 30 seasons, and she worked very hard. And there's another brother she has that when they acquired a home and they moved in, he did plumbing. And some other people maybe take advantage of their uncle. She was kind to her uncle. And we know it. I can say with certainty that Clara Green is in heaven. She was a very good lady. And the Book of Revelations and daily TV Mass all week long, they've had the Book of Revelations, so coming at the end of the liturgical year. And they mention White Throne Judgment and the Great Lake Fire and the second death. And some will go to that second death, the great lake fire. A little bit of worldly goods, possessions gathered through other means will not save them. Doesn't impress God in the least bit. It's like the lawyer said, what did you do that I should bring you in heaven? God, as St. Peter said, well, the old lady fell down and I gave her a quarter and told her to go in a restaurant and have a cup of coffee and a tea. And another time a little boy fell off his bike and he scratched his knee. I gave him a quarter to go and buy ice cream. And God leaned over the desk and he said, how about if I give you back your 50 cents and send you to hell? Well, Clara Green has been kind and good all her life to other people. She took advantage of nobody, and she is in heaven, her mortal soul tonight. And we'll say a prayer for this wonderful lady. We'll say, Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace, blessed are thee among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, thy baby Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And I think she died, here's Friday evening, so over Thursday night or this morning. And to all the relatives that were good to her, that took her out to lunch or visited the nursing home or were kind to her when she lived in Linwood, we thank you. And I'm certain Clara, although she had a difficult life at times, she always smiled. She always smiled and was pleasant. And I don't remember being jealous or small or petty or gossipy. She was a good lady, and I'm going to repeat, she loved her late husband till death did they part. Her 2 sons and her number of grandkids and her daughter-in-law. Can't forget her wonderful daughter-in-law. And so with that, I got to go. A tribute to the late Clara Green. And God bless her. I normally say all the best, God bless. I say God bless Clara Green, this day of her death, and to her offspring, her 2 sons and her daughter-in-law and her several grandkids. Thank you. Good night. Say a prayer for Clara. I'm certain she's in heaven now, reunited. To one good thing we can say about this, she's reunited in heaven now with her late husband Tom, and they'll be in heaven in the presence of God and other saints and angels that have gone before for all eternity. God bless Clara Green. More people can use her example. Thank you. Good night.